So the topic is, what if enlightenment is a trap? And so, like, we hear these ideas about enlightenment, about that being like this ultimate goal, but is the goal of enlightenment a trap? Are we like seeking something constantly? What does that feel like to you? What does that mean to you?
Interesting. Okay, so how I see it is that if you look at it from one perspective, you're kind of like a dog chasing its tail, or you continue to go around in circles, not really getting anywhere.
Mm,
Um, and that, I don't want to say it's a trap, like enlightenment is a trap where you are looking and searching for enlightenment and you just keep on going around in a circle. But in a different perspective, such as your own, the person who is actually going through it, that circle is actually a spiral upwards or spiral downwards
mm,
or just a spiral, something that isn't actually just a circle. It's something else as well. And
mm.
it's moving, it's progressing actually towards something. And it's not just going around in a very linear sense, a circle.
Yeah, I love that because that question is assuming that enlightenment is a straight trajectory when in reality it's not. It's this beautiful mixing of movement forward, backward, up, down, left, right, like just space, I guess, a creation of greater space and awareness of self and of everything else beyond the self.
Yeah, I definitely see that, but it kind of goes back to um, like what you were what we were saying before, which is you could just sit down and
Mm,
do nothing and still be on that journey of enlightenment, but not actually doing anything
that's
because
fair.
you're perfect exactly where you are. And for those who um, I guess, need movement to feel more of that enlightenment, okay, you got to move. Okay, you keep on going in that spiral, keep on potentially going in what seems like a circle, but you're making progress in a different dimension. But other people can find enlightenment by just sitting and
So then is enlightenment
not doing.
really just awareness? Is just like presence?
It's it's the thing that you need the most when you don't know what to do. And
Interesting.
if I feel as if that means movement, then it's movement. If that means no movement, then it isn't movement. It's just sitting and embracing yourself.
The thing you need the most when you don't know what to do. Did I repeat that correctly?
I think so. I I don't want to say that that feels 100% right, but
Yeah.
it feels right for right now.
Okay. But what if you do know what to do and that's what you're choosing to do?
So if you know what to do in terms of feeling or being enlightened, and you're doing that, or you're moving in that direction. Is that along the lines of what you were thinking?
I don't know. I'm just trying to process what you said. So I'm,
Yeah, yeah, but like I need to understand which way you're going with this.
well, because you said like it's in a moment where there's uncertainty, but I'm wondering, does it have to be in a moment of uncertainty, or can it be also when you are certain and you're still, there's still, I guess, some form of movement, even if you're physically like not? I don't know. It's this is getting a little
Yes,
confusing.
yes. No, 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 no. It is. I agree. It's well, okay. So the definition. What is the definition of enlightenment?
Great
Like, I
question.
would like, I would like to know what the actual dictionary definition is,
I'll look it up.
because I am fascinated. Since it's definitely not what I'm thinking or feeling at the moment.
Okay, so enlightenment is, of course, I fucking hate when they use the word in the definition, the action of enlightening or the state of being enlightened. Okay, so now let's look.
I can.
Enlightened, having or showing a rational, modern, and well informed outlook, or it says spiritually aware.
I don't like any of that.
Me
That
either.
sounds all wrong. That sounds so wrong. That sounds so like sterile and clinical and scientific.
Also, like,
Which
what
is,
does it mean to be spiritually aware? So, spiritually, it says in a way that relates to or affects the human spirit or soul, as opposed to material or physical things. They are connected spiritually through a sense of purpose. This is all
yeah,
just like words.
that's a little better, but it seems still very sterile.
Yeah.
That's pretty unfortunate.
Well, maybe that's part of this whole thing is maybe not enough people are having these conversations to get to a true definition of what it really means.
Well, I think, like any word, you as an individual get to define that.
True.
But I feel like enlightenment is something a little bit sterile or scientific.
According to Google.
Not
Yeah.
on that paper. In the dictionary. Yeah, no, I agree. So
Well,
going
so
back to um, your question of
because like let me take it a step further, right? Like the follow up would be is the pursuit of this higher consciousness another form of ego attachment?
yes, I'm glad you stated it that way, because I know a lot of gurus and a lot of, I don't know, people who share that they are enlightened
Yeah.
people that then attract others who want something that that guru has.
Yeah.
It's now a cult following,
Yep.
and they twist things, and it's just bad news all the way around. Um,
And
I
yeah.
it's ooh, that is not. I don't believe, at least from me and my experience, I don't believe that's enlightenment. You do not bring people on your journey of enlightenment, or you do not bring. You don't guide people on their journey to enlightenment. I feel like that's it's
Mm.
something so individual
Mm.
that is basically just defined by you, and for the most part, you don't even know what that means, because
That's
it takes
I agree.
multiple lifetimes to figure that out. Not like the journey is the same as the destination, and there's not a lot of similarities in reality that have that. So it's first of all difficult to define, difficult to generalize, and difficult for one individual to um, I don't know, collide with another individual on tasks so much that there is a feeling of leading or guiding.
It's an interesting take on it for sure. And like as you're speaking, I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, it's basically saying, oh, this is what worked for me. Now I'm going to use what quote unquote worked for me to fit your mold when you're a completely different form and essence. So, like, how can someone be so, um, it's just like a scam. I guess it goes back to that whole like scamming component. Like, what works for one doesn't necessarily work for another. or work for all, but I guess it can be a guideline.
Yes, I definitely believe that it can be a guideline, just like religion is for a lot of people. It's not a bad thing at all. It could save lives, and it
Yeah.
has.
Yeah.
And that can never be a bad thing. But it's it doesn't have to be so rigid.
Yeah.
If you believe that your enlightenment journey is just a multitude of touch points of other spiritual beings, then that's what it is. It doesn't have to be with a religion. It doesn't have to be with a cult. It doesn't have to be with one individual other enlightened person.
Yeah.
Everyone's own journey is their own.
Right. It can be whatever feels right for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like unfortunate that folks gravitate towards very charismatic, quote unquote leaders. Just call them gurus, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but is that actually enlightenment, or is it just charisma, or is it just
Yeah.
having something that others want to attain that is not enlightenment, but maybe along the lines of, uh, a fellowship, or like a quality or an action that other person has or does that seems very attractive to others.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it too could be, marketing, right? Like it's one thing to present a type of way, but it's another thing to actually be that way. So what we're seeing on the internet or what you're, hearing in the news isn't necessarily truth, but people take that as fact. And there's maybe some bits of, reality, quote unquote, in that, but a lot of it is bias, is personal perspective, is made up for the appeal of
Yeah.
the masses. So everything should really be taken with a grain of salt.
Well, I feel, with your background in marketing, and just my general knowledge as I'm in sales currently, all of it stems back to the the psyche. Like,
Yep.
in marketing and in sales, they tell you this is how, scientifically speaking, you get to talk with somebody and want them to listen more to you, or buy what you're selling, or you're using psychological
Manipulation.
data points,
Yeah.
yeah, to help you with your goal.
Yep.
And it's, yes, it's understandable to a certain point, but it's it sometimes feels a little dirty,
Yeah, it
but
definitely is dirty. It definitely is dirty. Yeah.
but other times it's kind of like the Matrix, where the computers are people like us, people in marketing, people in sales, who go through all of the knowledge of figuring out how a human thinks. But then you always have to remember that as humans, organically speaking, we're always going to be one step ahead. We can always evolve past those psychological,
That's
uh,
true.
markers for marketing and those gurus. Like, you will only fall for a guru if you allow yourself to do so.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but that, I believe, might be a part of somebody who feels unhealed and who needs to attach themselves to something or somebody or a concept or XYZ thing, because they don't trust themselves enough
Right.
to do what they believe, like they might not be able to embrace themselves.
I mean, there's definitely like a need there. And I'll be the first person to say I have been swept up in that kind of stuff, believing things that people say, wanting a certain result and trying to get that result. I don't know, not necessarily always quicker, but in a way that someone else has gotten the end result. So it's like following in somebody's footsteps to then find out, oh, well, that footstep was made up, or, and then like feeling discouraged or upset that what I had envisioned didn't actually turn out the way that I was being told it would turn out. Just because I had faith and I trusted in something that necessarily shouldn't have been trusted.
Yeah, but I feel like that's the whole of society. That's the whole of reality as we live it. Currently in society, we're like, okay, you go to college, you get out, you get a good job, and you pay off that debt. Well, that's not really happening in reality anymore.
Yeah.
Like, we got to find a different. Well, then let's go back to our roots and be like, okay, well, what do you want to do? What do you like? If you go out into the world, be an intern for a bunch of years, and then you figure out, oh yeah, I think this is what I gravitate towards. This is my strength. This is my, like getting back to that white space versus black space. Like black space being, okay, this is the defined role, and you as a human being is trying to fit yourself into this box, this if you think of like just font on a piece of paper, you're trying to fit yourself into that word or that letter even, and you don't have to.
Yeah.
There's so much space around it.
Yeah.
Why do you need to define yourself like that? And that's what the Renaissance age, where people just employed artists to make great art while they were living on that person's estate or something. Like, why can't we go back to that?
I mean, that'd be wild. So much
That
has
would be,
changed.
but like, yeah, because everything must be defined. Everything must be. This is the track in order to get to I don't know, wealth. Oh, you have to be a finance bro. Like,
Yeah.
but you don't. It's just the way that society has told you, and that it's been maneuvered to, I don't know, put on
Trap
a
you.
pedestal.
Yeah.
Correct. Well,
So
that's depressing.
to like, close the loop here,
Yeah.
do you think that people seek spirituality as an escape rather than true self-discovery? Or is spirituality a form of self-discovery?
I feel like a lot of people are just trying to keep their heads above water.
Mm,
If you are allowed the time and the ability to heal yourself, that is an amazing win, an amazing success. I feel like other people who have been gifted time without need, uh, people like that, I have seen they need something. They need something to hold on to. They need something to progress themselves. They need that evolution, but they've been given that highest honor of not having boundaries and obstacles in their way. And I'm not sure if that's a good thing. And I'm not sure if that helps on their journey if they want to be enlightened or not. But then again, it's all perspective, so I have no idea.
yeah.
I can only share from my own experiences. I know that this is not absolutely not answering the question, but I feel like it's a more based form.
Well, so this is something you and I have actually talked about recently as well. The whole idea of like being able to prioritize spirituality and this type of thought process. And that's kind of where you started your thought just then, which is not everybody has the ability to give time and space to this. But I
Yeah.
guess if you do have the ability to, what does that mean for you? Although, like, does it even need to be separated from what people are doing on on a regular daily basis. Like, how can people incorporate it more into their regular practices and classify that as like a spiritual practice? I mean, just being alive in a sense is a spiritual practice. So maybe putting less of an emphasis, or like placing it on a pedestal, or like making it become this other thing. How does it just become what is?
I think I can answer that, or I think I have an opinion on that. I think it's long term goals for you as a human being. You, in understanding, I don't know what karma is, or it's hard to hard to remove money from any situation, and a lot of money driven decisions are usually short term.
Mm,
But in order to consider yourself in your core to feel like you are a good human being, I feel like you have to think about those spiritual or maybe ethical decisions and feel good about yourself when you make those decisions. Um, small deeds, small things that can happen or that you can influence even in your day-to-day activities, even if you may not have the time or the money or, like any of that. Maybe, I don't know, you're working 3 different jobs. Okay, can you do that in a capacity where you can feel good about yourself at the end of the day?
mm-hmm.
I think that's enough. That can be enough.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like finding the silver lining in the shit that someone might be experiencing.
It's having a it depends on your mindset,
Yeah,
and your mindset depends on you. You
true
can
that.
choose what mindset to have, and yeah, you could be in a shitty situation, but you can still just, I don't want to say be grateful that you have a life to live, because I feel like that's not my place to say, but you can have a positive mindset wherever you are.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
in just sharing, not even sharing your mindset, but just communicating with other people, having that mindset in the background passively does change other people in the smallest, most minute ways.
Yeah, you're totally right. Well, thank you for this lovely chat, Jenny.
Always a pleasure, Jen.